Hi, I'm Angela Ryder. Thanks for joining me today. I wanted to talk about a personal story that happened that ties in with being able to hear the sound of our guides and angels, and for those of you that also may see energy in your mind's eye or how things may take shape. So, several years ago, my mom had a 2 week journey from the discovery of cancer to her dying in hospice with me at her side. There was a small cot in the room for me so I could be there 24/7 with her. And thankfully, she was lucid and aware until probably the last 4 hours, early in the morning of the day she passed. We had a lot of laughs and conversations during that 2 week time, and she kept saying that she was forgetting that she was there because she was dying. And so, I found that interesting that she was having such a good time that she kept forgetting why she was there. So I'm grateful for that. But shortly after we had arrived at this lovely hospital home, I was sitting in a comfy chair near her bed, and I had my feet up on the bed, and we were chatting. And every once in a while, she would go, "Oh, did you hear that?" And I would go, "No, I didn't hear anything." And after the second time, she did it again, and I said, "Okay, let's listen together." And so I got on the bed, facing her, and sat near her hip, and we just kind of looked at each other and kept waiting. And then all of a sudden, we both had that look on our face, and we both at the same time used our finger and it went like this. And we both made that spiral sound, that what we heard had a shape of how the sound was moving. And then right after that, we both said, "Angels." And so, it was the first time I had shared clairaudience with anybody. And it still touches me this day to think about that shared time. Today, as I was doing my morning walk, my spirit team started talking to me about the shape of sounds. And they used that moment of listening to angels with my mom as the conversation starter. I think that they started that because they wanted to address the question that I had asked them last week, which was, when I'm doing these episodes, sometimes when I'm doing them, or definitely after when I'm watching them to edit the beginning and the end, I noticed that the sounds and energy takes on a shape, and I was curious as to whether or not that was helpful, because my thought would be, well, wouldn't you want a straight, direct transmission to people? And my team, as they always tell me, for me to just focus on receiving and sharing what I get, and they take care of the energetic transmission. And they usually tell me in a hashtag, if I'm getting a team meeting where I'm writing, they usually tell me in a hashtag, receive and transmit. Was thinking of that as like, okay, so I'm going to pay attention every time I do these episodes, to pay attention to and notice the shape that they are transmitting out. One of the other things that my team brought to me, and often they do that, they start as an entry point, like listening to angels or bringing me something, and then they connect it to a next point, and then they connect it to a next point. So one of the things that they then said is, think about how sensitive my hearing is, and that there are always these little nuanced sounds that catch my attention. And the first time I truly was aware of it was when it was about 40 years ago. I was in my early 20s and hiking and camping in the Yukon of Canada. And it was dark out. We had a small fire that was dying out. And I kept hearing a faint shimmering sound, like a shh. And I kept saying, did you hear that? And the person I was with said, I don't hear anything. And I kept, sitting, and all of a sudden I would hear the sound again. And finally, I just had this nudge to get up, and I looked around, and I looked behind me, which was the north. And all of a sudden, I saw this big wave of the northern lights just shimmering across the sky. And with the shimmer of the lights, I could hear the shimmer in my ears. So I don't know truly if I was hearing the shimmering of light and the electromagnetic northern lights, or if my team was whispering for me to look for that shimmering sound. But I do know that because I listened, I got to see the first northern lights ever, and the first one that I had seen up until this past year. So had I not been paying attention and not needing somebody else to affirm what I was hearing and just investigate it myself, I might have missed something so spectacular and beautiful. So today I'm sharing with you that if you've noticed you have very sensitive hearing, pay attention to those very subtle sounds that you're not sure if you heard. You may have clairaudience, and it's one of the ways your spirit teams may get to use your attention. So when you're hearing a whispering or you think something has caught your ear, just take a look around and see if something captures your attention. And if you don't see anything, just notice what words or feelings did you get when the sound occurred. Did you get a sense of warning or curiosity or just question? What was that? And just take notice of it, because the taking of the notice of it is like an attunement for your ears, like you're calibrating your ears to start picking up those soft, subtle sounds that your team might be using to get your attention. And just for fun, if you hear it, maybe take a gander at what shape of the sound was it? What did the shapes sound look like? Like, did it sound like a wave? Did it sound like a spiral? Did it sound like a shimmer, an arrow? So just notice that, you might pick up on other energetic psychic perceptions of the sounds that come in. And some sounds have color too. I know that there is synesthesia that people have, but I don't see it any differently than using the senses that you have and how your spirit team and guides will use them to get your attention. So if you hear a sound and it's associated with a shape or a color or some other sort of thing that comes to you, just note that even if you have that as a synesthesia, your team is using that to help you. And as I was sharing all of this and coming to an end here, I also wanted to add that for me, this session looks like an energetic, slow, undulating spiral. And its color is a pale cobalt blue. And the transmission is given by our spirit teams and is supportive to your psychic senses. And you may attune your perceptions to something greater just by tuning in and listening to this session. Every transmission holds something for you, and you are capable of choosing whether or not you want to receive. Thank you so much for joining me. Take what resonates, leave the rest, and I hope you join me again.